Good evening, folks. This is our first edition, well, surprise edition of a wrestling podcast. Actually, the first one we're doing, and why are we doing a podcast, you may ask, sporadically? Well, I think there's some stuff that we need to talk about that pertains to wrestling. What do you think, James?
Well, yeah, there's some exciting stuff going on. The WWE draft is coming very soon here. We're going to talk about who we think should go on what roster. That's a big change going back to doing Brandon. The last 5 years has been one Brandon versus two shows. We have RHE tasted it. Plus, there's been some interesting comments as of late about AJ Styles here. We want to discuss about AJ Styles just turned heel on Monday Night Raw. Of course, John Cena has. So we want to give our thoughts on the John Cena AJ Styles thing here in a moment here. But man, exciting times in the WWE coming up right now here, Fred, don't you think?
Absolutely. I think it's going particularly well with not the Attitude Era. I'm sorry, the new era. However, I do want to mention something that I saw, particularly on my cousin's network, because he does a uh, uh, shows on his network called Excuse me one second. NG2C Network, and he talks a lot about wrestling, and you've seen some of his shows on about Mega Fortune. I should say about Mega Fortune.
We were on season 1. If you notice, we also do our sports Southtown Sports podcast. It's show that we decide it's monthly, depending on the topic here. But he makes this whole thing about John Cena burying people. Now
I'm gonna go read the comment that he posted on his page.
You don't have to read the exact quote.
But he's basically saying about the AJ Styles Jr. says with Bullet Club. He specifically says, and he specifically asks, why does he turn heel? And his reason is because John Cena's back. Now, okay, for the first part of the comment that I'm going to respond to, this heel turn obviously has seemed to build up over the past month and a half, would you say at least, when he was going against Roman Reigns, more specifically heading towards Extreme Rules, this whole moral class of, can AJ Styles beat Roman Reigns on his own? And so this idea of him turning heel seems like it hasn't been like all of a sudden. Although the surprise last night really gave you the nice wow factor.
2 nights ago, to be honest with you.
Okay, 2 nights ago, whatever. So anyway, as far as Gary's saying that John Cena is the reason that AJ Styles turned heel, you could say that, but I think this has been building for a little bit longer time than just like in the last few days.
Okay, in defense of Gary here, it's not just the view of one person. We're talking about the quote unquote internet wrestling community.
Which Gary I don't think claims to be a part of. However, it's just
maybe not so, but it seems like a view that I'm not particularly paying on him, but
because he has a lot of followers and he does his shows with a few different people that I'm not too familiar with, but they're all like the wrestling of the Attitude Era, and they try to talk about how creative has buried talent and all this.
Well, that's what I'll get to in a minute or so here about
which is true. I'm not saying it's not true.
Well, I'll get into
but like Jimmy's saying,
with that
yeah,
a little bit.
Whatever.
But on the create team. But I would, we've heard rumors of this is not uncommon of superstars burying other talent for
This seems like this happens all the time, though, where you hear all
supposedly.
this. And you can make a case for Triple H. You can make a case for Hulk Hogan, even. So all these.
Ric Flair, maybe.
Well, you
Well,
say so too.
maybe not Ric
Kevin
Flair.
Nash.
Maybe not Ric Flair. I don't. Since his.
But this has been going on for years, where there was claims of buried talent. Some it's probably factual and already been documented. Some, not so factual and documented. So I mean,
but do you think that it's more of the product of the system?
It is the product of the system.
I think that's where my issue with now of course John Cena didn't start out as being a main event guy. I mean nobody really thought nobody did really think he was going to be that guy. I mean
You kind of have to look back at when Brock Lesnar left, and that kind of forced. I shouldn't say forced, but that kind of led to Cena being the man for the past 10 years. Had it not been for Brock Lesnar.
There's Batista there too.
Yeah, Batista. I know you got Randy Orton.
The brand split too, which we're again we'll get to me, which I'll.
But going back to Gary Newkirk's point, let me keep going with his comment. He says, this is his opinion. We know how this BS works. A build is going to happen between the two. Cena's going to make Styles look strong and pathetic promos once the match comes around at Money Back. And his quotes are, "Oh, Cena wins." We all know how this BS works.
Well, I think it's more of the creative side. I think that's where I'm thinking of. I don't think it's so much about Cena as is a shot at WWE creative. I think, and it's like that's. I think that's what he's really taking issue with. I mean, again, but it's more of the way they position John Cena being the superhero figure, and he's always been for like the last decade. He's gonna be the face of the company. Now,
do I think it may be pathetic from promos? I don't know. We haven't gotten that far in this whole situation with the storyline.
Time John Cena occasionally gets like corny promos. It's kind of this love-hate thing. Again, my problem really, of course, I don't know if it's so much of a rant here.
It seems like a rant, but here's the part where I'm probably going to go on a rant myself. Pardon my French, Jimmy.
I got my own.
Here's the last paragraph.
I got my own. Of course, we still love you here. We're not going to.
But that has not to do with that point. Here's the kicker. If Styles goes over at Money in the Bank, there's going to be a second match between the two where the Buckethead is going to go over and bury Styles even more.
One second, I'll be right back. You do your thing.
Bury Styles. Really, Gary? Really? This is where I strongly disagree with Gary's comments. Right there. Going on into a second match between the two where he's calling Cena the Buckethead is going to bury Styles even further. Really, Gary? Really? Really? I don't get the point here. How in the world, as popular as Styles is, going to get buried by John Cena? If you've been watching the past 2 pay-per-views before Cena ever returned, and you were claiming also talking about Roman Reigns and how Roman, Roman titty, mother titty, whatever you want to call him, whatever you're calling Roman Reigns. Are you serious? Are you freaking serious? Seriously. You're going to bury AJ Styles even more. And your point reasoning is because that's what happened with Kevin Owens and Mayor Grace heels in his history. Really, Gary? Really?
You almost sound like the Miz when you're saying it.
Are you kidding me? How can AJ Styles be buried? He already has a popularity about him, number one. And two, I don't think this is about burying people. I think this is about, honestly, if you want my opinion, this is more of like a dream match. They're relatively the same age anyway. But this, I'm reading some of the comments. Vince hates TNA. Enough said. I don't know if so much Vince hates TNA, but for God's sake, man, what the frig are you talking about?
Well, TNA has not been doing that great. I mean, I want.
But that's
well,
not.
I understand it. I understand the WWE. I mean, TNA, you know, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of issues going on there, but you know.
And I'm not even looking at it from the internet fans' perspective. I'm not even looking at it from their perspective, Gary's perspective. I'm looking at it from a storyline perspective. I'm following the storyline, Gary.
Well,
I'm not following all the backstage politics, whatever the case may be.
Well, see, that's the thing. It's you know, I think if we were talking about this 10 years ago, this the storyline, yes.
And Gary, just to be clear, I don't know if so much him burying talent or maybe putting over talent. There's a difference between burying talent and putting over talent. If Kevin Owens were buried, how why in the hell does he win the Intercontinental title? I don't understand that. And wasn't AJ Styles just in the main event with Roman Reigns? I can't understand where your reasoning is coming from. I don't get it. AJ Styles has been an elite talent for the past, 10, 15 years? Even before he was in WWE? Obviously, he was in Japan and definitely TNA. And I've seen AJ Styles in his face runs and his heel runs in TNA. And quite frankly, I doubt anybody buried him when he was face or heel in TNA. So how can you tell me that John Cena is going to bury AJ?
Well, I think the one teaching thing is it's not as big as WWE. So I mean, obviously, you could say you know, I mean, what you want, but you know, TNA, is not it's never be WWE. You know, we know that. I mean, it's always been an alternative.
Oh, here's another comment on his Facebook page. This was from
another guy.
I won't say the name, but someone says Mr. TNA, Mr. WWE, Cena returns, and this is Gary's comment. AJ Styles is already buried after Warhammer Extreme Rules against. I won't repeat the phrase.
Muscle Boy, but
I don't think it's a burial. If I was reading, I believe Mick Foley's comments a few weeks ago, or AJ Styles' comments maybe a week or so ago, they were saying that these two had chemistry between each other as far as opponents go. So you can probably read it on Mick Foley's page here on Facebook. But anyway, I'm gonna even type Mick Foley up just so I can prove my point.
While you're looking that up, I have a problem with WWE Creative, and I've been saying this for a while, not on air, but talking with that WWE Creative is inconsistent. I mean, 1 week, I mean, one minute it's like they get the 1 minute the you a good review. Next week it's like it's doing like it's like this is this is not good. This is it's like D misery. I mean, I don't know where to go. I am seriously.
I think it's mostly in the mid card because recently, obviously,
it's been so inconsistent. Are you kidding me? I mean, what?
obviously, I'll agree with points on talents like
That's
Cody.
part of the problem. It's they're being creative. Doesn't have a clue what they're doing.
Well, not all part creative, but I'm assuming their head creator days before Runjan Singh, the guy who's running the creative
manager of the Great Colony.
Yes, but to tie into your point, obviously Cody Rhodes has been released with. He asked for his release. There were some creative issues.
Issue is creative is just they suck. And they cover the same old storyline. It's like shenanigans. It's like
and sometimes there's nothing wrong with that, but when you come up with gimmicks,
some of these gimmicks are like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, what are you doing?
Okay, so going back to the Mick Foley comment, and I'm going to paraphrase his quotes on Facebook. All rights go out to Mick Foley for coyness. This is his post on the guy. Roman Reigns is the guy. And then he says, he admits he'll get heat for saying too, but he's found his groove. This is the part where I'm going to talk about AJ Styles, and this is paraphrasing Mick or quoting Mick Foley. The chemistry between AJ and Roman was electric. You cannot predict or create that type of chemistry. It either exists or it doesn't. And obviously it goes on about when it's lacking, there still is decent message, but the people tend to forget very much, and because of attention spans and that. But the rivalry, if it's a very good one, the rivalry gives it a fresh taste to it. I'll say.
Yeah.
Now he admits that WWE is forcing fans to portray him as this good guy. Obviously,
that's part of my point here is that they're shoving these gimmicks down people's throats and nobody's buying them. It's either 1 minute they're going one direction, but then they switch and make you in another direction. I mean, how do you not?
Now, hold on a second, no, because I feel like I'm seeing something that may go down in the near future since Seth Rollins' chairman Roman Reigns coming with Roman Reigns as a champion. Now, is it easy surmisable that now they're continuing to force Seth Rollins' as heel as Roman Reigns' as face? Would you suspect a double turn coming up? Because it seems like people do want to cheer for Seth Rollins. Now he's not associated with authority. And Roman Reigns is kind of like The Rock, essentially. I think this is a classic case scenario of The Rock.
Well, I have to agree with
you. And I want to say Seth Rollins could be Stone Cold, but here's the interesting point.
It's an interesting comparison you brought up.
But also Shawn Michaels, in a sense. I think my cousin Gary, no, not cousin Gary, my cousin Jeremy mentioned about when I was talking to him a few days ago about Seth Rollins being the Shawn Michaels. And that actually makes more sense. But going back to my point about how John Cena or even Roman Reigns bearing AJ Styles, I don't buy for one freaking second that Roman Reigns is burying AJ Styles. Obviously, yes, we agreed that there's issue with creative stuff. That, Yes. But to say, oh, Roman Reigns is burying AJ Styles. Now John Cena is going to even further bury AJ Styles. That is a bunch of bull. BS. End of story. So now I'm done with ranting on that. If you want to respond to my my rant, Gary, you are feel free to do so on your next show, whenever you talk about wrestling. And yes, I have to be the guy that is not the guy who's going to think like-minded, so to speak. So we'll have to see how this plays out.
What about my rant about W Creative? Do you think I'm done with that?
No, but that part particularly, it's not just me that feels this way. I know it's not just Gary and the people on their show feel this way, but I would say about a majority. I would say about a majority feels that way.
Here's where I would, if I'm WWE, if I'm Vince, if I'm Triple or I'm Shane.
Slow down, Jimbo. So you're saying if you're Vince, Shane, well, maybe not even Shane, Triple H, mostly Vince, Triple H, and the creative, what would you do?
Well, I would find new guys know actually what the clue they're doing, because clearly these creative guys.
Dewey Foley's on the
well,
the
not
creative.
Dewey Foley, not this credit. He's been
like Brian Gerwitz, you could say, maybe Dave Kapoor.
I mean, seriously,
Paul Heyman was on creative 10 years ago, I might add, as one of the lead writers for SmackDown. And if I remember correctly, SmackDown and Raw were during that time, were great shows. I don't think anybody was complaining too much about what was going on. But
is it? Do you think it's because we live in this sort of PG era? I think that has to be.
Here's a few things.
I think maybe so. I mean,
you could totally blame some of it on the PG for appeasing corporate sponsors, and that's nothing new.
But still, creative should know what to do. And
creative and talent. I think maybe there should be a little more leeway with talent. But isn't there also, I heard too, I actually was one of Chris Jericho's podcasts, that there's more now ever like a cohesiveness in the locker room, a welcoming environment where people want people to do well, not that competitive competitive edge during the Attitude Era.
Well, I mean, I didn't hear about it.
I was listening to one of Chris Jericho's podcasts. I don't think it was recent.
I don't disagree with you. My real issue is that the storylines for the mid career are like they're so subpar. I mean, it's just I don't know how you accept subpar. Like, it's unacceptable. I mean, there has to be a level. I mean, obviously, I'll convince, but I'm making myself seriously. Yeah, I mean, there's got to. You need to go back to more realist based and more their personalities. Doesn't have to be like the Attitude, but go back where the talent has a little more say. What are they best? Say play to like to play to
their strengths, hide their weaknesses.
Yeah. But of course, I hope with this brain extension, the re-extensioning, hopefully that should solve some of the problems. Okay.
Now,
I don't
going back.
I don't know if it was so much of a rant, but maybe just more frustration here.
Anyway, going to this brain extension, this is nothing new. However, I think it might have been sorely missed, to say the least, for about 5 years, especially with a lot of new talent coming up.
For the NXT ranks, there's Shinsuke Nakazuma. You got a lot of great intel, plus like household names in there, Samoa Joe, and there
Austin Aries, Eric Gunn.
Well, he's not signed to WWE at this point, but I mean, I think I would hope that here's what I would before we get into who's going to be drafted, number one, number two, how who we like to see on what Pacific brand. I would like to see Raw go back to 2 hours. I don't know if it can happen, but I think in 3 hours just to me. There's another thing. 3 hours on Raw, it used to be a rarity. Now is every week. It's just so lackluster at times.
I'm not totally disagree with you on the 3 hour part, but at the same time, what you would have thought that the 3 hours would open the doors for more time for in-ring promos or backstage work.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Or actually wrestling. I think that's what the fans of today want is. I think they want it nice, but even more so wrestling. No BS. Just shut up and fight. A little quote from Taker. That was from 2002.
Oh yeah, Taker.
One of his little philosophy things in his promos, whatever the case may be. But that's what they want. They want straight up realism. Not. I think it's a sign of times. They want more realism.
Well, I think they want the big fight atmosphere. You think of UFC, think of mixed martial arts.
But not only that, I don't think they necessarily need edgier storylines like they did back in the mid to late 90s. There's more of that. Obviously, you've seen over the past 10, 15 years with the MMA style influencing WWE with some like wrestlers like CM Punk, wrestlers like
Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar and
he's been in a while, but of course he had the mixed martial arts, and now of course the easy. And now he looks more like a.
But my point is here. Well, actually, you can include Dean Ambrose and some Seth Rollins and that sort of stuff. My point is that I think maybe the idea of soap boxer, soap opera type scripting, I think that might be lackluster to say the least.
That's the problem.
It may have been great during even before Air 2 era and everything, and it's probably worked for the longest time. But I think our generation, or even people younger, this probably does go back to a short attention span in some ways. But also, it's not like you can keep secrets anymore because of the internet wrestling community and things that have gone on in the past 10 years. Period. If you think about it, I would say yes, 5, 10 years. I would say actually more 5 in the last 5 years. People read a lot more about the ins and outs of politics in WWE and the backstage and the talent and stuff. So it's not like 10 years ago or 10, 15 years ago where you could surprise people a lot. So that makes it even more challenging. It still is a challenge to a certain degree.
I think there is surprises. There still can be surprises. It's just
it's really tough.
It's few and far between.
So does that probably does put added stress on creative too, since it's not, you can't do a lot of surprises anymore in the business. There's not too much fooling around with storylines and stuff.
Right, or interjections. But
yeah, so that may be, like I said, that may be a challenge that why we're seeing what we're seeing and why fans are disgruntled to a certain degree.
I would have to agree with that. Okay, so how much you set it up for 30 minutes? How much?
I actually didn't set it up for 30 minutes. I just set it up to just go live.
I'm sorry. I was totally mistaken. So we do have a little bit. We have some time here. What am I thinking?
We were trying to make it a nice short podcast, just because we want to get some stuff out there, and so not so much our frustrations, but I guess it is our frustrations. But I get where Gary's come from, tying back into what I said earlier. But I'm the type of person that kind of looks into things from a mental standpoint, but also storyline perspective. I tend to think so. And what I'm seeing is completely different view from what Gary's point of view is. So I tend to look at what's been playing out and what's, looking into the mind of what creative may think or what could possibly go or happen or
Right. I
it.
got you.
So it, I mean, there will probably be more debates about this in the oncoming months or so, but I mean, at least for now, I got to clear the air, and I'm gonna agree to disagree. But now going to the draft, the WWE draft. Who do we think is going to wind up on SmackDown, and who's going to wind up on Raw?
Well, first one's the live SmackDown is going to be June 19th or July 19th.
I think it's June 19th.
Okay, so I was originally right with June 19th.
And it's going to Tuesday nights.
Which thankfully,
this is part of the deal where so no spoilers can happen too.
Oh, there still might be spoilers.
Yeah, maybe, but I think this is a part of WWE to eliminate spoilers for SmackDown. However, this is probably going to affect
more spontaneous. I would say.
This probably will affect TNA a little bit too. They're on Pop TV. We'll see how everything goes.
Well, it could be a split audience here, but it's saying like it's saying that you have number two. I always try to talk about the number one draft pick. Number one draft pick. So if you had a number one draft pick, if you had to do the number one draft pick, would you pick Roman Reigns or John Cena?
That's a tough. I don't know if that's so much a tough one, but that's a hypothetical.
It is sort of.
I think you want John Cena on the flagship station of Monday Night Raw. He's been there for the past 10+ years.
Yeah, really, that's kind of odd you saying that there. I thought you were going the opposite way here. But what's your reasoning behind him? He's like the flagship guy. Always been the flagship. We know that there. But
I'm not saying that he's going to be the flagship guy going forward, but he's a mainstay. He's a mainstay. Now, could you make a case for him going on SmackDown? Absolutely.
I will make.
We're working.
I will make a case for him going to SmackDown after I'm done. After you're done here. So
Roman Reigns might be a good fit for SmackDown. But if you want to keep Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns on the same page, you kind of keep all three on Monday Night Raw, and then you would probably do what a John Cena thing with SmackDown. And so probably AJ Styles, the Bullet Club on SmackDown. But then you're kind of getting into mid-card talent right there. And not to say about Dean Ambrose. You probably could put Dean Ambrose on SmackDown. I have no problem with that. The Y family Raw.
What about the Divas division? I mean, the Divas division. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about that as well.
Charlotte would probably be on Raw since she. Actually,
well, I think they're trying to keep a dual brain. I mean, but they'll have challengers from.
I would say the Divas may be on both brands. They might interact back and forth, but you might have certain Divas on certain shows. But like if you're the champion and stuff, you probably fluctuate between both shows. Obviously, the Kevin Owens could be a great fit on SmackDown, and whoever's the U.S. champion, or I think it's Rusev, you could be on Raw. But having said all that, I think the Intercontinental title has been more important on Raw, so Kevin Owens could stay on Raw and then Rusev be on SmackDown.
That makes sense.
That would probably make more sense because.
What about Randy Orton?
If and when he comes back, I don't see him on SmackDown. I can see him on Raw. It's just going to depend on how everything falls into place. This is just speculating, our speculation. We have no idea how everything's going to unfold. Like the younger talent of Apollo Crews, yes, SmackDown.
What about like
Baron Corbin SmackDown?
Or Shinsuke Nakamura from NXT come up?
I don't think that's going to be the case right away. I think you got eventually you could, but this is not. We're not talking about that now. Let's see. Who Sheamus would be a SmackDown. Goldust definitely, and R-Truth definitely on SmackDown. Who do you want to put on Raw? Big Show and Kane on Raw?
Well, that's kind of a tough one. I mean, that's a tough one. I mean,
Kane's been kind of a Raw guy for the most part.
Big Show and SmackDown again. Everybody interesting.
We won't have any Big Show sucks chance.
Oh man. Yeah, right.
I'm just joking, but yeah.
But your Rob with Johnson, I would actually put Roman Reigns on the Raw brand. He's the number one face of this franchise right now. I think you give him that show to Raw. John Cena, I would take your SmackDown. You know, John Cena, he'd be the number one on SmackDown. Here's why. SmackDown when it first used to be the hot commodity, obviously with the money, but it used to be.
But don't forget, when back 10, 12 years ago.
Well, I'm trying to say it needs credibility, and if you put John Cena, I mean, he'll give SmackDown instant credibility. He started his career on SmackDown over a decade and a half ago. I mean, why not put why not put him to show where he started? I mean, yes, I know it's gonna be the Rock show, but
if you smell what the Rock is cooking, but anyway.
No, but he's gonna give you it's a credibility. You help put over new stars like Kevin Owens, like AJ Styles, Shinji.
I don't want to say AJ Styles.
No, I'm sorry, but I'm kind of course, we're talking about this John Cena. I want to see it at WrestleMania, the John Cena Roman Reigns count at WrestleMania. That would be my next dream match is Cena Reigns. But
it's almost like a Triple H HBK type putting over of John Cena back almost 10 years ago.
True, but roles are reversed. But I think Seth Rollins should be on should be the another guy be on your number one SmackDown guy. He needs to be respected. But I gotta say that if Randy Orton should be on SmackDown as well. He's to me he's more man SmackDown than a Raw guy.
But going back to your point earlier, or just recently on 10, 12 years ago, you still had Kurt Angle when he was still in WWE. You had Undertaker. You had obviously Brock Lesnar as a younger talent. You had John Cena as a younger talent.
Well, it goes back to
you probably had Hardcore Harley. You had the Big Show.
Or The Rock was the number one in SmackDown.
Yeah, but you had The Rock.
But that was 14 years, almost 14 years.
Well, close to that. But my point is it's sort of the same thing, but I think you had guys, I'm not saying these current guys aren't like what was 10, 14, 15 years ago, but I think you had a little bit more star power than just like, your current Angles could wrestle, your Big Shows could be dominant, your Undertakers could be the strikers, the cornerstones, your even A-Train, APA.
Right. But
Tajiri, of all people. SmackDown's number one announcer, Funaki.
Well, I mean, he's Japan number one announcer as of late. He's been calling WWE for Japan. And he looks all lovely dressed, nice and dressed.
You had Booker T. Don't forget, you had Paul Heyman.
Booker T was a WCW guy.
I know, but I'm talking about during that time before when he was in WWE. You had Booker T. too. And
Scott Steiner.
Oh, that was Raw though. But I'm just talking exclusively SmackDown.
Goldberg. Of course, don't forget Goldberg.
But like I said, I'm talking about SmackDown. I'll get to Raw point there, but I'm just saying exclusively SmackDown.
I think.
But you're right.
My point is, SmackDown needs credibility. It's been long overdue. I think, of course, being on the USA coming live, I think that would be the ticket for fans to tune into.
I think they're still going to be on Sci-Fi, right?
No.
Oh yeah, never mind. They're on USA. Sorry.
So, it'll be your 1-2 punch. So fans want to watch.
I'm even forgetting about Edge too and Chris Benoit. God bless Chris Benoit. Yes. God bless those people that passed away in the past 10 years. But those were guys that were at star power. I shouldn't say star power, but they had the drive. They weren't like the biggest, buffest wrestlers, but they have a lot of technical wrestling
I think that's awesome.
ability
You go,
and a lot of popularity, and they could know how to work a crowd. And they were established.
right
So
there, but um, any sort of shockers that would appear on any brand? Like, who do you think would
now there you're going on that one.
like like anybody we have not named?
Let's see anybody that we have not named. Just give me 1 second. Oh yeah, I'm forgetting about the New Day,
Well, New Day's not sort of surprising.
but I'm thinking more towards Raw since they are the WWE World Tag Team Champions, of course. Bo Dallas, you could say on SmackDown. Those the Vaudevillains.
The Vondos are actually quite interesting. You hate to say it. We're just such like a bygone era.
More like black and white television stars from 1920s type deal, obviously. I can't call them two French popcorn
No, but
farts.
what would be a
Stealing Rock's
what
quote,
would
sorry.
be a what would be a shock like draft pick like a surprise draft pick?
You could say Braun Strowman as far as a SmackDown guy. Dolph Ziggler would definitely fit SmackDown or
Well,
Raw.
you wouldn't be surprised. I'm talking about anybody from NXT that we've not named.
I haven't gotten to that point yet. If you want to go down to NXT type deal, you might be Finn Balor.
Well, yeah, Finn Balor.
That would be the most
That's a-
obvious surprise.
But yeah, I mean, his name's been talked about a lot lately. Finn Balor, come up to the main roster. I would love to see Nia Jax. She's also part of that lineage of the Samoan dynasty of the Anoa'i family.
I know a fan, yes.
I would. That would be some.
Zack Ryder would be a nice fit for SmackDown.
Oh yeah.
Sin Cara may be SmackDown too, but Titus O'Neil definitely keep on the Raw brand. But you still gotta go off by storylines too. Sami Zayn, I would on Raw.
Would you love Paige on SmackDown?
Alberto Del Rio, Alberto Del Rio's and Paige are dating. Dang. Oh well. I am a big fan of Paige. I'll admit that. I think I made it on the last podcast. Let's see. Oh, it's my good friend Curtis Axel. Not SmackDown, I'm assuming. I'm just reading down the Wikipedia list. Cesaro definitely Raw. Brock Lesnar Raw. Y2J gotta be Raw.
I think SmackDown. I think Reggie beats.
Nah. Usos on Raw. Kalisto on SmackDown. You could see the Mark Henry's winding down. The Miz probably on SmackDown or Raw.
Hard to say.
There's a lot of good picks, but I think we've covered most of them except for the Divas. You could say Alicia Fox on SmackDown, Becky Lynch SmackDown, Charlotte on Raw, Dana on Raw, Emma when she returns. You could say Raw. Eva Marie SmackDown, Lana SmackDown, Naomi Raw, Natalya Raw, Nikki Raw, Paige. You can put her on SmackDown or Raw. Or Sasha SmackDown, Summer Rae SmackDown, Tamina Raw. This is just all speculation, obviously, but
I get you.
okay. So I think we've covered most of that.
Anything you want us to cover for now?
I know we'll get to the NHL draft soon,
On our South Down Sports Podcast.
and we want to get Zach Reese coming up. We're about less than 30 days away from the draft, so I would like to get with Zach and come up with a little mini series before the draft, leading up to a big draft podcast, a big NHL draft podcast coming up in later in June. We hope to get that organized. And we will be broadcasting live at Tony Pepperoni's in Orchard Park.
That'll be our first on location Southland Sports podcast.
And we hope to have a big group of people as far as to join our podcast. Obviously, what Zach Reese we would want as our podcast. I think Dan Myers, a good friend of ours, would be fitting. Maybe, a couple of people that want to join in. We'll see. But anyway, that's going to be all the time that we have for tonight. Thank you for listening on our first spontaneous wrestling podcast, episode 1. If you like more of this, please go to our Southtown Sports Podcast page on Facebook at Southtown Sports Podcast, or check out the YouTube channel. We're always looking for people to give us comments as usual.
Or give us grief.
Yeah, or give us grief. Yeah, sure. But hey, if there's something that we want to talk about as it pertains to wrestling, yeah, I'm ready to throw down. So until then, we'll see you soon.